Hey guys, welcome to Blue Pill Podcast. This is Abe, your host. I lied to you all. Please forgive me. Um, it's April 14th, 2025. I told you all I'm gonna get back into conspiracy podcast because I haven't beaten any current games. Um, like I said, I lied. I just beat one this morning. Um, and this is a game here. Well, as far as the update, my co-host ain't here. My Mr. Bill or Lammy, they're stuck over there in that avalanche. Um, I've already told you guys my current situation, so don't make fun of me. It's not anything within my control for the most part. Um, as far as that, uh, today is an interesting, strange day. I've been honestly very upbeat and productive lately. So I've been doing a lot of cleaning, mopped my floor, cleaned my sink, cleaned my toilet, swept the floors. Been drinking coffee again, so that's helped a lot. I went months without drinking coffee. Gonna mow the lawn later today, you know. Um, but yeah, so there's some crazy stuff going on in my life right now that just got thrown on me. It could turn out good or bad. I know at the end of the day I can rest my head on my pillow with a good conscience because I didn't do anything. I told you guys I'm going through some legal shit right now. But I know that I'm an innocent man, you know? And it could go either way, and I love, because you know how court is and shit. Um, I can't wait till this is all over so I can share with you guys the whole drama of it, of like how much fucking bullshit I've been dealing with past couple months. But today we're doing a game review, so let's go with it. So now that we got the intro out of the way, just the update, because it's a podcast. You know, I like to do it at the beginning of every podcast. You guys know. This is the time you can make fun of me. I will be your dunce, your ragdoll today. Go ahead and make fun of me in the comments. I'm reviewing video game Let's Ride Dreamer. Yep, it's a horse game for Game Boy Advance. I need some humor in my life right now. So the whole title it's a huge long ass title. It's called Let's Ride Dreamer, inspired by a true story. So it's got two subtitles, a subtitle. It's based off of a movie. It stars Kurt Russell and Goldie Hawn, which I love Kurt Russell and Goldie Hawn, and you guys know me. I do a conspiracy podcast called Conspiracy Corner Podcast. Obviously, that's my channel name. That's my main podcast. And first of all, I love Kurt Russell and Goldie Hawn. I feel like with Hollywood, there are so many freaking creeps out there. And Kurt Russell, Goldie Hawn, I feel like I've always been really fucking cool. Keanu Reeves. There's very few ones. I think there's like little tiny gems within a landmine or a mine full of just dirt crud rocks, you know, if that makes sense. There's little gems, little diamonds in the rough, you know. But and I do want to do just a little teaser. I do want to do an episode on Kurt Russell and Goldie Hawn because they're husband and wife. Um Kurt Russell was actually, and he's documented. This is all documented. You can look this shit up. He actually was um flying at the time and came across the Phoenix Lights. I'm not going to go into too much detail. If you know what the Phoenix Lights are, cool. If you don't, go check it out. I do want to do an episode on Kurt Russell and Goldie Hawn as a couple. Goldie Hawn had a UFO, or not UFO, alien experience. So, basically, you have, okay, UFO experience, I think, is contact of the third kind. or alien experience is contact of the fourth kind. So he had the third, she had the fourth, and they're both married. So interesting stuff. We're gonna do a deep dive on that. But enough for like a little side thing. Kurt Russell though is in this movie, Dreamer, and supposedly it's based off a true story. Now, I have not watched the movie yet. I already told you guys that I do have not a podcast, but a side category within my channel of basically me reviewing conspiracy movies is my main focus. But I already told you guys before I want to also review based off of true stories or inspired by true stories. So this would fall under that category. It's supposed to be a story. I'll tell you the story, what I learned from the game. Now, the game, it looks like, I ain't gonna lie, is like loosely based off the movie, and the movie is probably most likely, we all know how Hollywood is and artistic licensing and all that jazz of like Hollywood usually butchers actual history. We already kind of know. So it's like 3 steps down from an actual true story. So how accurate this is, the story, I'm not sure. But so with this game, little teaser. So I beat this Let's Ride. I bought another one. I'm not gonna lie. And the only reason why is because it's literally, oh shit, $3.99. So I figured I'd beat one. I enjoyed it. I loved it. So I was like, I'm gonna get another one. It's only $4. So yeah. Now it looks like, honestly, dude, it looks like it's a very generic series. THQ is one of the companies, which I know it's a bigger company. It's actually made a lot of games. I can't really recall any off the head. I'm not gonna lie. So I don't know, man. Is it a good company as far as game making? Hit me up in the comments. But I enjoyed that game. So I felt like this was like their golden fucking this was their golden opportunity to base it off of a movie that's based off of a true story. Because it looks like it's honestly a generic game company. It's a generic series, it's a generic corporation, whatever. So for it to be based off of a movie, DreamWorks helped make this game. This is the only one that's helped by DreamWorks. So I think this was their like, heck yeah, dude, if we could sign this in and write the storyline around a movie based off a true story, I think this is how we're going to make it big, you know. Which is understandable. I'm not saying it's like a cash grab. I mean, as someone who has owned like little small businesses in my past, like I can understand, you know, if I could affiliate myself with a true historical story and a Hollywood movie, like yeah, I would do it. I get it, you know. But I have to say, man, when it comes to like movies or games based off true stories, it always bothers me because it's like there's a part of me of like kind of like that meme of I want to believe with the UFO. I want to believe that the Hollywood movie or the game is how it actually went down. So then, sadly, finding out that the actual history of it isn't as exciting as the movie, it's depressing. So it's one of those weird things where you'll see cognitive dissonance within me of like, I don't want to hear about it, I don't want to know, I want to keep it to myself and just enjoy my history of history, you know. I know it sounds bad as a conspiracy theorist because we're always seeking the truth and stuff, but it sucks, man. Truth hurts, I guess, is what you would say. You know, there's a reason that they say that truth hurts. So like I said, go ahead and make fun of me, and I'm gonna pick on myself, you know, because if you can't pick on yourself, you can't make jokes about others. I've learned that about comedy. The game is cheap, so this is the cost of the game. It's like $3.99. Both of them were $3.99, so $6 for both games. Well, no, $8. Sorry, $4. You know, round up 1 penny plus tax. Uncle Sam's got to get his, you know. It was funny, dude. Like when I went in, the guy's like, "Oh, this," you know, it was a gay guy at the counter at Game Exchange. So shout out to them. Seriously, you're gonna honk? That's my game dealer school bus. I already know who it is. Um, so it was a gay guy, and I was like, "Oh, I'm buying this for my daughter," you know. And he's like, "Oh, you're so sweet." And I didn't do it today. He didn't even ask or say anything because he was too busy talking. But I don't know. I felt like ashamed. I was like, and the thing is like, I've always been like very interested growing up, and to this day, I'm very interested in like horses and stuff. Which I live in Kentucky, you guys know, so we actually go to like horse parks and stuff. There's a lot of horse history here. I love the Derby, you know, and someone who's Native American, you know, and I've always been kind of feminine. I've talked about this on my channel before. Like, a lot of people think I'm gay automatically because I like rings and jewelry, and I'm not super masculine. I mean, I'm crossing my freaking legs just talking right now. But sexuality, like as far as like stereotypes and stuff, is something I've struggled with throughout the years growing up, and just even into adulthood I still struggle with it. My dad was very macho, and so I'll never forget, like, this game is like a, you care for your horse, and I'll get into further detail later on, but like it reminds me of like a kind of like a Tamagotchi. And I remember my dad like making fun of me as a kid for buying like this little Tamagotchi dog keychain where you're like taking care of a dog. You got to scoop up its poop. You got to like feed it, water it, take it for walks. So if you like Tamagotchi or Tamagotchi related stuff as far as like taking care of animals, virtual pet stuff, you'll love this shit. Um, but yeah, I've always liked Indians and fantasy and cowboys, and I mean, I was the little kid, I've talked about it before, I was the little kid who dressed up with cowboy boots, snakeskin cowboy boots, by the way. Snakeskin, it makes a difference. And I had like a pop gun back when they were like silver and actually in metal and looked like actual revolvers. And smoke would come out and it was actually loud and shit. Yeah, 90s, dude, we had awesome toys. Everything's orange and stupid looking now. But yeah, I've always been attracted to horses. I've always wanted to learn how to ride one. I've rode them a couple times, but just trotting, never like galloping and stuff. It'd be cool. If I was a millionaire, I'd have a horse. But yeah, so it's basically, you take care of the animal. Like, you have to scoop its poop, you have to relay down straw, feed it, water it, and then you get to take it out and either do missions or competitions or free ride. So let's go into further detail. So where this game is directed towards like children, females, for the most part, you know, because I do believe in biology. I trust the science, you know. There, where it's directed towards children, and by the way, as an adult, you can enjoy this game too. Like you have to like groom your horse, so like it gives you a big brush, and then it never tells it in the actual storyline. There's this little hook thing that you clean out the hooves with. So if you are an owner of horses or you've taken care of horses before, I felt like this was a missed opportunity for the game designers, because they could have made this game like semi-educational. Like, what am I doing? I'm cleaning the hooves with this hook device. What's that device called? You know? And then there's like this little black brush. It looks almost like a sander. Like, obviously I'm not sanding the horse, but like I've already brushed it. I did this weird hook thing. You never told me what that thing is. I know what it does. I figured it out. 1 + 1 = 2. But like, what's the third device? You know, I felt like this. If it's directed towards children, you know, like, why couldn't they have gone gone more into the educational educational aspect of it, that would have helped. So this kind of gets into, like, I do think this game definitely has a high replay value, because I'm not gonna lie, I kind of rushed through the game. I'm very story oriented. Like, I want to beat the main story and say that I beat the game. But it has high replay value, which I always keep that in mind forever when maybe I'm broke or something and I need to pick up my old cartridges of, like, hey, there's a lot of extra stuff that I didn't get on this game or this game, you know. So I didn't earn as much as I could have. I only earned, you earn like prizes basically from competitions, from just furthering yourself within the main storyline, side quests, shit like that. So, like, you earn, like, saddles, different color saddles. It's like upgraded saddles, ribbons from competitions. You earn ribbons that you can dress your horse up with, you know. I only earned, like, one saddle and, like, two ribbons. And I earned a new uniform, a jockey uniform, from red to blue. I like blue. That's my second favorite color because I consider black a color. So yeah, there's a lot of, the replay value of this game is high, and they actually ask you, they break the fourth wall when you beat the game. It literally tells you, like, hey, you beat the game, but you can keep playing if you want, you know, the owner of the farm. And that's your time to, I would say that would be your time to, like, get high scores in the competitions, as far as, like, the dressage competition, the jumping competition, to get high scores in gold trophies and medals, and earn the side items, the extra items. If you're really big on getting high scores and stuff. Also, the game is very RPG-ish. There's a lot of RPG elements to it, so there's, like, stats and levels. Like, you level your horse up. I think I was, like, 30 something. I don't know if that's good or not. I beat the game, so apparently it was, but you level up. It actually felt like an RPG, and there is a decent amount of grinding in this game, as far as, like, taking care of your horse and riding it, and yeah, it's an RPG. Technically, it's an RPG. So, I've told you guys before, I used to be a father. I used to be a tutor also. One thing that I noticed, and it didn't bother me, obviously, because I'm an adult. One thing that I could see as a downfall of this game, as, like, if you're a parent and buying this for your child, and the child has siblings, I could see them fighting over this game because it only has one file. I'm like, why doesn't it have two files? Because, or at least two, you know. Yeah, I could see kids getting aggravated, especially, like, an older daughter getting mad that a younger daughter saved over their progress and started a new game, and let's say they were almost about to beat the game or something. I could see that getting frustrated. I know from a 90s kid's perspective, we didn't have too many issues, like, because most Game Boy Color, Game Boy games, we had three brothers that pretty much lived together. My oldest was pretty much moved out by the time I started getting into the gaming age. So I had to worry about my brother Brandon and brother Luke and me having files. Like, Zelda always came with 3 files, you know? So that way everyone had their own file. So I could see that becoming an issue. And you're going to see that with older games, you know? So just a little downfall of this game. So this didn't really bother me. And I understand, like I said, it's a smaller company, but it's worth mentioning. It seems like it's a smaller series, kind of like, honestly, it's a generic game, but that doesn't mean it's bad, you know. It is a gem. The map is very small, so basically, you have your storyline, and you're on a farm. You have your stable. That's where you go, and it becomes a point and click adventure of point and click segment of the game. It's where you take care of your horse, like physically take care of it, feed it, water it, clean its hooves, brush it down, dress it up, put its saddle on, all that jazz. So that it becomes like an animal caretaking game as far as that aspect. And then you have on the left top side of your screen, well, the very top, right before you go to the stable, is the boss. He's like the owner of the farm where you work at, because you're a little kid working and taking care of your horse. He's letting you keep your horse there. And we'll get into the story here in a second. But the map is very small. So you got the farm, and on the farm, you talk to the big guy who owns the farm, and he'll tell you your missions. Sometimes he's not there, and then you'll have to go to, you have a rival character. I forget her name. I think it's Antonia. And she's your rival. And sometimes she has missions. She's pretty much telling you like, oh, there's a competition going on. You better do good. So there is like an actual competition area within the farm. There's competitions that are held there, and then there's an abandoned barn, and on the side of it is like competitions on the road. So you actually go on the road a couple parts of the game. There's no cutscenes, there's no sequences like that. It lets you select missions and shit, and you have to win trophies. You have to get number 1. By the way, to complete any of these missions, which is a little harsh on children, like, you can't get silver or bronze, you have to get gold every time to progress through the story. Yeah, the map's real small, and then on the side there is, hang on. Alright, sorry about that. Technical difficulty. So, there is another section to the map, which this is actually my favorite part of the game, is you can do free riding, and it actually ties in with the main story, or you can do competition riding, and you get to go into the woods. And this is where most of the storyline stuff goes on besides competition, and my favorite missions of the game, because you get missions. So you get to go into the woods, and you can choose either summer, and it's kind of like, oh my god, kind of like a bigger, more linear, vertical map, and you can choose also winter. So, and you can do free riding, practice for competitions and stuff, level up your horse, and there's side missions there. So the forest was always my favorite section. Anytime I got, like, as far as missions, like, I always dreaded the competitions, and there's a reason, because one of the competitions, the dressage competition, and if you've played this game, you know what I'm talking about. So the dressage competition, this was the only time I got stuck on the game, really, and I never truly figured out, I have a hunch, and I have a feeling I figured out how to get past this part, was, the dressage competition. It's basically, you have to walk among these, like, dots, and basically you're tracing with your horse. And I tried everything. I tried jumping more, I tried speeding up and running through the course, and there was times I would literally get this perfect, immaculate of tracing this outline, making my horse do it. And I kind of figured out that I think the game was rigged, because I watched someone else do it. I'm like, what the fuck am I doing wrong? Because that's something I have to say about this game. It never tells you what you're doing wrong. And I'll go further into detail about that. But it never tells you what you're doing wrong. And I watched someone else play it. His name is Agent Frowny. He has a gaming channel, so go subscribe to him. But if you sub to him, this is a shout out to him. Tell him who sent you, and maybe he'll give me a shout out. I'm trying to get up to 500 subscribers. It's hard out here for a pimp when you're trying to get the money for the rent. But yeah, if it weren't for him, I wouldn't have beat the game, dude. I was stuck, and I just kept leveling up and leveling up, and I was like, maybe it's just a level issue. But I noticed one thing is your points go up with how long you've been on the track. And I noticed during the game, he actually went to a full-blown walk and not a trot, because there's walk, trot, and then gallop. He would go to a full-blown walk, and the score would go up, and the points against you would just stay there. So like right towards the end, the last fucking stretch, I just walked super slow, and my score kept going up. So I think it was a timing issue. So stupid though that you have to like almost trick the game to get past that certain level. That was my only beef as far as like the story of like that particular mission. I'm like, seriously? I could have like, because I wasted like 2 or 3 hours leveling up my horse and retrying over and over and over this stupid dressage competition. So there are some cheats to this game that I figured out. When you care for your horse, you can literally care for it. And this is like, if you want to just beat the story and just technically beat the game, you can kind of rush through it. And that would affect the length of the game. I think what they want you to do is like get high scores on competitions, even if they're non-relevant to the story. Which I understand, I get it. But if you're like me and you're a very story-oriented person, then here's how you can. This is just something I found. It's a little loophole, and it's not like a gotcha, because the game is directed more towards children. But you can actually just take care of your horse and leave, and then just do that 3 or 4 times in between missions when the boss of the farm says like he's got nothing for you. And you can level up and literally progress through the game like that. Beat it in one day. Just a little something I noticed. And like I said, I don't think they meant to. I don't think it's not a gotcha because it's directed towards children, the actual game. So it's kind of like one of those things of like, as an adult, you're like, I figured out a loophole in the system. So we'll get into the story because we're actually getting quite close to the end. I'm actually got quite a bit I could still talk about, but I ain't gonna lie, dude, these podcasts end up longer than I think they would. Like, I have notes here, and I'm like, this game, it's very simple. I couldn't talk about this for 30 minutes, and I'm like, then looking at it, it's like, oh shit, I could talk about this for an hour. But I got some business I got to take care of today, so I'm gonna keep it 30 minutes. But here's the story. Basically, a girl wants a horse. Her friend moved away. And by the way, this whole story is very Hallmarkish, which that's not a bad thing. That's not me putting the game down. I liked this game because it's very cheerful. There is some sadness in it. And the storyline, considering there's not very much dialogue, it's actually, it pulls on your heartstrings, man. I feel like the movie and this game, I haven't seen the movie yet, I told you guys, but I feel like the movie and this game are very Hallmarkish, which the older I've gotten, you can make fun of me. You guys know me. I'm a punk rock, badass. But the older I've gotten more into the whole kind of like Hallmarkish sweet stuff. I don't know if that's just me getting old or... But yeah, the storyline is basically there's a little girl. Her name's Amy. Her friend's moving away, so she's taking care of her horse for her friend. And she really wants this horse. She wants this horse, but her dad works at... They never say where he works, but he's poor. They do imply that. Because there's a part in the storyline where he's like, hey, work's been rough. I'm not getting as much hours, blah, blah, blah. I don't know if I can afford this horse anymore for you. So there's that. There's a rival who is basically a jerk to you. Like, there's a couple side missions, like, where she... Literally, they one mission is you have to find the mailbox. And it's so fucking weird. There's a mailbox in the middle of, like, off-road in the woods. And it's like, there's no way a mail truck would come through here. But it's directed towards children, so, you know. But, there's that, and, like, your rival, Antonia, basically, like checks the mail one day and sees that a letter's for you, and, like, doesn't tear it up, but, like, throws it out in the woods, and you have to go find it. There's a lot of, like, scavenger hunt missions. And turns out, like, later on in the story, man, this is all spoiler alert, by the way, but it turns out later on in the story, like, her parents are getting a divorce, so that's why she's been such a jerk, a biatch, and she ends up becoming friends with you and stuff. So, like, it ties up all the loose ends, and spoiler alert, like I said, you end up winning, like, the last competition to beat the game, and you end up getting the horse, at least for temporarily, you know. But I mean, that's the end of the game. You get to keep the horse, you know. And I don't know, man, it just kind of pulls on your heartstrings, because right before the last competition, they leave you on a cliffhanger of your dad's like, hey, work's been rough. We can't keep the horse, you know, I can't afford its stable cost, and I'm running out of money. And then when you win the competition, just so happens, you know, that, like, he's like, work picked up, I'm getting overtime, we can keep the horse at least for one more year. So yeah, it actually, as weird as it sounds for as little dialogue and stuff, it actually was kind of a deep storyline. And I felt like, if it's definitely directed towards children, like, it was interesting, because I felt like if you were a kid going through a divorce, you could understand Antonia's character. Or if you grew up in a poor family out in the country, you could understand wanting a horse and your dad having to work overtime, and maybe sometimes you can afford the horse, maybe you can't. Interesting stuff. It's a good game. I'm going to wrap it up. I give it an 8 out of 10. It's hard to get a 9 or a 10. We haven't done a 10 yet. I think we did a couple 9s. I don't know. I'll have to go back in my reviews. But I give it an 8 out of 10. Love y'all. Please like, share, and subscribe. I'm trying to get up to 500 subs on YouTube, so please do subscribe. Y'all have a good day.